Hi guys, I'm Dr. Paresis and welcome to another video. Today I'm in New York again with Dr. Bloxham here, and I thought I'd ask a very interesting question. You can see just up on the screen there a picture of a gentleman with very good hair, that's for sure. And one thing I wanted to ask was, and I've been asked this before, and I'm sure you get quite a lot of patients, showing you celebrities of people's hair, asking,
even the same ones.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen Jared Leto many times.
Jared Leto. I'm sure Brad Pitt's another one.
Brad Pitt's another one.
Yeah, exactly. And the question I got was, is it possible to get a result like this from a hair transplant? What do you think, first of all, Dr. Bloxham? What's your gut reaction there?
Well, I mean, my gut reaction is to give that famous, medical answer is it depends. When you look at a picture like that, I think the first thing to keep in mind when you're trying to answer the patient is that, number one, this guy's not only never had a hair transplant, he's never lost any hair. So this is not, an example like that is never a good example to show a patient or to have a patient show you and say, yeah, we could do that, And that's what happens a lot of the times is I will have someone bring in a celebrity photo and you nailed it. It's Brad Pitt, it's Jared Leto, it's Zac Efron a lot. I guess he's got a real nice
great hair.
But what I will tell them is, there are aspects of that we can mimic in certain instances. If they're not, crazy advanced loss, we can mimic shape, little intricacies like widow's peaks, temples, stuff like that. But that's not a good example because Zac Efron's never had a hair transplant. Brad Pitt's never had a hair transplant. What I will do is I'll try to show them some celebrities that have, and say like, this is kind of more what you expect. But I think when you really boil it down, the answer is it depends. Would I ever tell a patient, yes, I can give you, this actor, this model, so has never lost a single hair in his life? No, that's not an accurate way to put it. That's not a fair thing to tell a patient. But the reason why it depends is because I think it depends on, a couple factors and the amount of loss they have. Like we were just discussing it, for example, tell me a little bit more about maybe like a lower Norwood patient, someone that has a little bit of loss, and what you think you could do to get them, maybe similar to an instance like that photo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those patients that are coming in, they're Norwood 3, meaning they have slight recession in the temple areas. And especially the Norwood 3 patients with really good density elsewhere.
Yeah, or good hair type too.
Yeah, exactly. There's different Norwood 3 patients. You've got the Norwood 3 patient that's coming in, mild recession, but kind of diffuse loss as well. Yeah. And then you've got those Norwood 3 patients that are just so strong elsewhere. For the latter patient who's got lots of hair elsewhere, we can achieve a result similar to that gentleman by packing, say, 2,000 to 3,000 grafts in that localized recessed area. But the patient would have to take finasteride to prevent further loss. At least that's what we'd recommend. And it doesn't guarantee that he might not lose more hair in the future.
Yeah, and I think they also too would have to acknowledge that like you said, you can get results like that. I've had results like that before. But when you're looking at a scenario where you're really dense packing into a band like that, you have to remember that number one, dense packing is all about what the skin will accept. There are some times when you may have an area that's small that could, potentially get almost native density with grafting. You could have the donor supply from the patient, but if the blood supply in that area isn't going to accept those grafts, it's not going to work. And another thing too is that you have to keep in mind that sometimes in a scenario like this where you're maybe trying to really lower it, or you're trying to mimic something that's super dense like that, it may be more than one pass. Even if it's a patient that grows really well, even if you pack it in densely, you still might need 2 passes to get that density.
Absolutely, yeah. As far as a more advanced hair loss patient, let's say a Norwood 4 or more, it's going to be difficult to get that exact density from just hair transplants.
Yeah, and you probably can't.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest,
not possible.
There's only so, like I said, there's only so dense we can go with the transplant. It can be very dense, and you can do a couple passes, but remember that, like I said, there's only so much donor supply to use. There's only so much blood supply to feed those grafts in that skin to make the grafts grow. And you're going to run into a scenario where if you have that Norwood 2 or 3 guy that has 80% native hair and he's 20% transplants, sure, that can all blend in and look the same. Or you could maybe even get the transplants to that same density. If you have a guy who's 30% native hair and now needs 70% transplants, you're not going to hit that same density. However, there's a phrase that's thrown around a lot in the hair transplant field. Not as much as it used to be. It used to be kind of the go-to phrase, but I'll let you kind of touch on, do you need to, that's the question, do you need to go that dense? Like in order to have a result that maybe like is styled in the same manner as that guy or cut in the same manner as that guy and relatively looks the same, do you have to have it that dense?
You don't. So the reason why you don't is because there's an illusion of density that we shoot for. Whilst that gentleman has an appearance of a lot of hair density, we can give something that resembles that with just 50% of that density. That's the good thing, that's the good news. We use much fewer grafts, but we can achieve comparable density.
Yeah. Like you said, the general rule of thumb is that if you are able to match the density of the transplants to 50% of the native density, the human eye has a hard time picking up the difference. So when you have that density up there, when it's styled, it can have that same illusion of density. And typically, if you are going for a dense pack procedure, we're probably going higher than 50% of the native density. One other thing you brought up too that I think should be mentioned in this video is, you said that guy's never been a hair transplant patient.
Yeah.
So something that bothers me in the hair transplant field, and something that I would be on the lookout for is if you see that guy on a doctor's website. I remember a long time ago when Dr. Feller and I were kind of doing an initial redesign on our website, and every designer that came to us, that was the first thing they wanted to do was put some model on there with perfect hair. And I kept saying, why would we do that? That guy, that's not accurate. That guy's never had hair transplant. He's not a hair transplant patient. We want to put one of our patients on there. He may not look like that guy, but it's accurate. That's a fair thing to show patients. If you land on a website and all you see is that guy, maybe that guy, and then maybe another guy with the same, level of hair throwing a football on the beach or something like that, pump the brakes a little. You don't want to see that. You don't want to be drawn in by this idea that that's what you're shooting for. You need to ask that clinic. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to that clinic, but you need to ask that clinic, okay, great, beautiful website, I see the model, show me the goods. Where are the actual patients? Where are the guys that came to you saying, hey, can I achieve this result I saw on your website? And what did you do for them? So you need to just be very cautious and make sure that you're not getting suckered into to that.
I completely agree. So overall, in conclusion, guys, be careful about the clinic you choose. Yes, we can get a result from a hair transplant that resembles this gentleman, but no, it's not going to be exactly the same. But we will definitely be able to get something similar. So I hope that answers the question. I hope you found this interesting and informative. See you guys in the next video.